Hey everyone, it is me again. I am going to be talking more so about the interview and how to get into medical school and how to be a successful candidate. So the first things first is my interview was really fun with Ross. One of the interviewers was Jabron, so shout out to Jabron if he sees this. My interview was in Canada, obviously, and it worked out that he was in town for like a Ross conference, and then it was like a 30-minute drive from my home. So it worked out great. The interview itself was about 35 to 40 minutes, but obviously everyone's interview time will be a little bit different. But overall, it was actually really fun. We got to chat about my interests, my volunteer work, things that interest me, and it was just like really neat to be able to not be high stress the whole time and just relax and be you. So I have a couple points that you wouldn't think to do on your interview day. So make sure that you actually print and bring a couple copies of your resume. I read this on like an online forum somewhere, and I think now Ross might email you before your interview day and say, maybe just bring a resume. So I'm really happy that I did, just because Jabron actually looked at it and asked me specific questions about my resume. I got a couple emails from students saying, oh, my interviewer didn't ask to see my resume. Am I going to get in? Like, I'm really nervous. And that's okay. Sometimes they might either forget that you guys maybe brought your resume, or they don't really need to see it. Maybe you did a really good job of answering all the questions. But overall, it's not like a do or die. If they ask for you to see your resume, that's great. If not, don't take it to heart. It's really not it's just kind of a formality, I think, to make sure that you have something tangible there. So specifically the questions, the biggest one for me was why Ross? And that's a big one. And I think a lot of the interviewers want to see that you research the school, whether it's AUC, SABA, honestly, whether it's a United States school, Canadian school, it doesn't really matter. They want to make sure why this university. So what I did for Ross was I went online and kind of read their mantra, kind of what the school's about, what are the top kind of terms they use. It's supportive, and I think the Ross model is respect. It's bad that I don't know that right now. But just make sure that you kind of Google and just read up on the school. I mean, obviously you've applied to that school, you should know a little bit more about it. So the why Ross question is kind of 10 questions in one, because they want to make sure that you're serious. They want to make sure that you're not applying kind of on a whim. You want to make sure that you know about the school, what interests you about it, what do you think drove you to that school, and why did you apply. So the why Ross question is a lot of questions in one, so you want to make sure that you answer that appropriately. So I think my biggest advice for that is just be you, be honest of why you applied. I said, I tried for a couple years in Canada, I didn't get in. I found Ross through online, and I went to a Toronto seminar, and I fell in love with it, and it ticked all the boxes that I wanted in a school, and it kind of you can go on from there. So everyone's explanation is going to be a little bit different, but just make sure that question is really important. And I bet you I talked about it for about 8 to 10 minutes of why I wanted to go to Ross. So that was a big chunk of my interview. The next one was your interests. So they're going to ask you, what do you like to do outside of med school? They're going to word it a little bit differently of, tell me what you like to do in your free time. So make sure that you kind of have a couple things lined up of what you like to talk about. So I wouldn't really necessarily say I like skidooing or I like snowshoeing. Tailor it towards medicine if you can. Not saying those things are bad, but just they want to see that you're active in the community and that you like helping people. And as cliche as it sounds, you want to make sure that you have strong extracurriculars that show that. And that can more so come out in your volunteer work. So obviously I went to Vietnam for a whole month and worked in an orthopedic hospital and helped kids on the surgery table. And that was huge. And that's what kind of Jabron asked me about in my resume was whoa, you went to Vietnam. That's really interesting. Tell me about that experience. So they want to see that you're interactive with people, you work well with the team, you love helping people, you also take direction really well. And at the end of the day that you're in med school for the right reasons. You want to have a good experience with people and your patients and attendings and residents and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I'm leaning towards, is that you can say that you did all these amazing extracurriculars, but make it kind of medically related or more people related as well. And the last thing, and that's pretty much it. Those are the big things. I know I had a Canadian specific question of what are the steps needed to go back to practice in Canada. And at that moment, I didn't know if I wanted to go home to Canada or not. So I looked into it, and I'm really happy that I did, because I listed all the different exams that I have to do to make sure to go back to Canada, and all my visa stuff is appropriate. And he was pretty impressed. He's like, okay, you know what you need to do to get back. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to jump in with cold feet. I mean, I am on a whim in the sense that I'm going to take a chance and I'm going to try and get back to Canada as much as hard as I can. But now realizing the visa process and stuff, I might actually stay in the States, but I wanted to make sure that he knew that I was ready for this and that I knew my pathway to get back to my homeland. And that's pretty much it. It was not a bad interview. Those are like the biggest points I can touch on and kind of remember, because my interview was a long time ago. It was before MERP, so it was almost 3 years ago. And the biggest thing I tell people is be you, be confident, and that's what they want to see. They want to see that you are really serious about it. You want to be here. You're confident in your resume. You're confident in yourself. Because if you're there and you're just like, I don't know if I should be here, like they're gonna sense that and they're gonna get that vibe from you. But you want to go in, dress appropriately. Women, make sure that you don't wear a skirt higher than your knees. Guys, make sure that you don't have anything unbuttoned. Kind of, you guys know this stuff. I mean, just if you need to Google professional wear, if you guys want me to do a video on what's important to wear in clinicals and what's important to wear on the island and stuff, let me know in the comments below, and I can do a video solely on like professionalism. I might actually do that anyway, even if I don't get any comments. But yeah, just be personable, be confident, like I said, and be authentic. Don't lie and say that you did all these volunteering work and you just wanted to put something on your resume. Be truthful, be you, and at the end of the day, they want to see that you're a good person. And the great thing I love about Ross is they don't care about your MCAT score, they don't care about your SAT or whatever you needed. Your SAT was for college, but they just don't care about numbers. They care about if you're a good person, if you're going to work well with others, and then if you take Ross seriously. So I hope this helps. And again, if you have any comments or questions, just leave in the comments below or send me an email and I'll get back to them. Bye guys.